Thank you, English. Book 41. God's Warning. People served other gods more and more. But they worshipped God too. God warned people, saying, "The king of Babylon will attack you. He'll take people away.
Help! Help!
But I'll not help you." Jeremiah made God's words into a book. But the king burned the book. And tried to put Jeremiah in jail. But God hid Jeremiah. Nobody believed Jeremiah's words. No. At last, the king of Babylon took people away. Thank you, English. Book 42. Ezekiel saw the throne in heaven. The prophet Ezekiel was by the river. Suddenly, the sky opened up. Huh? Sparks flashed in the storm. Oh! Ezekiel saw 4 angels. Oh! The angels had 4 wings. They also had 4 faces. Above the angels, there was a king's chair. The chair was so nice that it was like a jewel. Someone in the form of a human was sitting there. A dazzling rainbow shined around it. Guess who was sitting on the king's chair? Huh? It was God. Oh! Thank you, English. Book 43. Dry bones came to life. Huh? One night, Ezekiel was in a valley. God's Spirit took him there. Ah! The valley was full of dry bones. God said to Ezekiel, "Will these bones come alive?" "Tell these bones to come alive." Ezekiel spoke as God asked him. Then the bones moved. Ah! The bones formed a large army. God promised Ezekiel, "These bones are the Israel people." They will come back to the land I gave them. There is nothing God can't do. Thank you, English. Book 44. Daniel and Three Friends. The Babylon king brought many boys to the palace. Among them were Daniel and three friends. They studied in the palace. And had nice food from the king's table. But those were foods that God told not to eat. Daniel said to the person who took care of him, "I will only eat vegetables and water."
"No, you can't!"
The keeper stopped him. "Then test us for 10 days. How did Daniel and his friends change? They looked better than before. God gave them wisdom too. Thank you, English. Book 45. Three Friends in the Fire. The Babylonian king made a fake god with gold.
Horror!
And the king ordered to all the people,
"Bow to the god made of gold. Anyone who doesn't bow will be thrown into the fire."
Someone came to the king and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't bow." They were the three friends of Daniel. The king was angry and asked them,
"Will God rescue you out of the fire?"
"Yes, he will rescue us." The king put them in the fire. God was with three friends.
Why are they for?
The king was puzzled. When none of them were hurt, the king said,
"There is no God like your God!"
The Babylon king praised God. Thank you, English. Book 46. Daniel in the Lion's Den. Daniel became a high man. So, Babylon people were jealous of Daniel. They made a law to stop the prayer. But Daniel prayed to God every day. People went to the king and said,
"Dear king, Daniel prayed to his God!
You must throw him into the lion's den!
Daniel was thrown to hungry lions. The king went to Daniel at dawn.
Daniel, did your God save you?"
He sent his angel to shut the lion's mouth.
The king was very happy and let Daniel out. Thank you, English. Book 47. Esther became queen. The king of Persia was very strong. One day, the king held a big feast. He wanted to show off a beautiful queen. But the queen did not come to the feast. The angry king said,
"I will get a new queen!"
Many women gathered. Among them was Esther, who believed in God. Esther had no parents. But she was very beautiful and wise. Shh. The king met many beautiful women.
No, no, no!
But he came to love Esther the most. Esther became queen. Thank you, English. Book 48. Israel people in danger. Haman hated the Israel people. So he told the king badly about them.
You have to kill them all! Do whatever you want to do.
When Esther's cousin heard this, he told Esther.
Go to the king and ask him to save us. Maybe God made you queen for this time.
Esther prayed with the people for 3 days. Then she went to the king and said,
Haman is trying to kill my people.
The angry king killed Haman instead. Brave Esther saved God's people. Thank you, English. Book 49. Nehemiah went home. Nehemiah lived in Persia. He worked for the Persian king. His brother gave him the sad news.
Huh? The walls of Jerusalem fell.
He cried and prayed for days. One day, the king asked Nehemiah, "Why is your face so dark?"
The walls in my hometown fell.
Nehemiah spoke honestly to the king. "Go and rebuild the walls." God moved the king's heart. Yes! Nehemiah thanked God for answering his prayer. Thank you, English. Book 50. The walls were rebuilt. Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem. He went first to look at the walls.
Oh.
And he said to people,
Let's build the walls again! God will help us!
Everyone worked together. They built strong walls. And they made the gates again. But enemies tried to stop them. Still, people didn't give up. Finally, Nehemiah and people built all the walls. and they guarded the walls in turn. With God's help, you can make it. Thank you, English.